view on what is important with the short-termism, maximization of short-term profits. You know, you train them, they go into the business and they practice what they were trained. So start adding sustainability, or if you want business ethics part in the business school, and try to sell the idea that profit is not an objective in itself. The second one is, if you talk to insurance companies, or if you talk to investors that have a long-term motivation, they are not so much interested in the fluctuation of the market, but in the long-term trend. There you can show that companies that work responsible and in this sense sustainable have less accidents, have less surprising incidences that cost money. Companies, if you look at, I'm not naming names, you find your own. There was a big German electric company that was faring very well, but bribing. And when that came out, it eventually cost them about $10 billion of fines and about probably $20 billion of American lawyers' fee. Now, if you look at 30 billion that you have to pay out of your net profit and compare it what you bought with it, you can retroactively prove it was probably not a wise decision to buy business through corruption. So repeat such stories, learn such stories, look for the long-term investors, and you know, and align with the financial communities. You find people you have everywhere. You have the Gauss distribution. You have some very smart guys, and you have some very not so smart guys. Talk to the right people, you find allies in all parts of society. It is, again, has to do with transaction costs, but I have the feeling, I'm working now 15 years with the Global Compact, I have the feeling that a lot has changed in the last 15 years, and it was not only because of Enron and WorldCom and all these things, it was also that there was a more enlightened attitude. Do we have everybody on board? No, we don't. Will we ever have everybody on board? No, we won't. So, you know, let's align with the smart ones. And I'm sure that as time goes by, we will see different market-based performances too. Last question.
We sit in a city which give a name to a banking regulation, Basel III. So what is the role of regulation in the topic we're talking about? Are we facing this future?
Well, let me put it like this. If you behave as the banks were behaving over the past 10 years, you shouldn't be surprised that you have regulation as it's coming now. And the pendulum of the regulation will swing far into the area where it hurts banks doing their business, their core competence business with integrity. So it will, regulation at the end will have a damaging effect as well. So I do believe that regulation should be there, but smart and light. And I'd rather do regulation through market incentives than by law. My son is a lawyer, and he says a lot of companies that come into Switzerland, the first question they ask is, what's the legal minimum? So if you have such an attitude, you would have to have a very strong legislation, and that's heavy-handed and a lot of bureaucracy. If you make sure that the prices say the ecological truth, if you say, you know, if gasoline at the moment is less expensive, inflation smoothened than it was 10, 15 years ago, and we know that this is not the price that tells the ecological truth. If we have price, if we are able to price products and services properly, so that the good ones are not punished, but the good ones are rewarded, so to say, then you need less regulation. In the end, if wisdom doesn't prevail, you need more regulation. But I was working 40 years in the private sector, and I barely found a problem, a corporate problem, that could be solved in a better way by a regulator than by a mandate. Thank you, and have a good time. Thank you very much.
I have a brief announcement. Thanks a lot. A brief announcement is that tomorrow's session on wastewater management. Wastewater management is moving to the morning session, that is from 10:30. It's moving to the 9:45 slot, and it will move also space. It'll move room. The water waste management will now take place at the ZLF Sitzungszimmer PSR. If you have any questions about that, please ask our coordinators outside. Thank you so much, Klaus, for a wonderful new keynote, and I wish you a bon continuation for the remainder of today and tomorrow.